And welcome back to the Credit Authority. I am your host, Rhonda Klch. Again, always wonderful to bring amazing entrepreneurs into the studio and talk to them about their success. So with us today is business entrepreneur Ed Stock. Welcome.
Hi, how are you, Rhonda?
Good. So I love the fact that you are a go-getter. And for those people that have the opportunity to know you or work with you, they always say such amazing things about how you've built your brand over the years. So let's bring it back a little bit. So you are in the real estate investment and funding space.
Correct.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about how you got started there and when.
Okay, well, I've been in the mortgage business for about 20 years. And I'm with a company called Landlord Capital. And we got licensed in October of 2007, which is pretty much the worst time in history to ever get a mortgage license. And as the sky fell around us and the industry changed, it just bad timing. Turned out to be the biggest blessing ever, because as there was foreclosures hitting the market and all these distressed properties started to hit, me being a little bit of a contrarian, I saw an opportunity and I went out and I started buying foreclosures, fixing and flipping them, putting money together to do it, begging, borrowing from friends, family, anybody I could to scale my business. And in my first year, I wound up flipping like 13, 14 houses. Next year, I did 30 houses, all the way up to doing 50 houses a year. All while doing that, using private lending and investors of that type, hard money back then was very, very hard.
Yeah.
So it was 13% rates, 60% of the purchase price. You still had to cover everything else. So I kept looking at the way to get a better model for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we raised a fund. Insula Capital was born out of a nightmare of a time in a history. And since then, we've raised a fund and we lend money to predominantly fix and flip investors. And we've scaled it to the point where we're probably one of the largest private lenders in the Northeast and continuing to grow.
So let's bring it back a little bit, because I want to bring it back to bring it forward. You took a huge risk when you first got started, and you're a family man.
I certainly am.
Tell me a little bit about that anxiety, right? Because I am a family person myself, and when you are making such challenging decisions, it's not just yourself that you're thinking about. You're thinking about everybody else. So tell me a little bit about when you got started, what that anxiety was like for you, knowing that you had to provide for a family.
Anxiety, I suppose I thrive on. I don't think my wife agrees with that.
Okay.
For many, many years, every time I tried a new venture, when I started the mortgage company, when I started flipping houses, then when I raised this fund, it was always, are you sure you know what you're doing? Are you sure you know what you're doing? Now I can tell her I'm going to reinvent the wheel, and she'd be like, sure, no problem. Because we've done it, we've been successful. Yeah. So yeah, there's always that anxiety, if you want, but the oldest saying there is that I live by is no risk, no reward. So you've got to be willing to just jump in.
Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship, right?
And go for it.
You can't put your risk in. Exactly. And you learn from your mistakes. And I think people who feel that you're entitled or lucky, right? Think about how many people are out there going, he's just lucky. He hit the market at the right time, or he had a great opportunity. They're not seeing the hard work and, that went into creating that opportunity. Who are the people that you rely on when you're making those decisions back then and even today? Who's your power partners?
Power partners back then were hard to find. They really were. I mean, my wife has always been wildly supportive of me. I have my oldest, dearest friend is my partner in Insula Capital. So we've been through some peaks and valleys, but the market has been really good to us. And I've always told people from the start, it would take a major geopolitical event to hurt us.
Really?
COVID showed up and we thrived. We're actually one of the few lenders nationwide that made loans every single day, every single week when the world shut down. We did really, really well by doing that because it wasn't going to last forever. And now here we are on the verge of potentially another recession, interest rates going higher. The housing market's still strong because there's a major supply problem. Yeah. So we're going to forge forward. We're going to watch some of our competitors crumble, and we're going to continue to grow.
Now, tell me a little bit about your business and the scalability. So we know that you've been growing over the years. Is there a certain point when you have a private capital group like yourself that you exhaust your funds? Like, do you need to rely on other, other people to jump in, or does that not happen?
It can. A lot of my competitors now are running into that problem. The
Mhm.
secondary market has tightened up dramatically due to cost of capital increasing. We have lines of credit and counterparties that we count on, but when they locked up at the beginning of COVID, we have a balance sheet, and I have an ability to go to my investors, my shareholders,
Sure.
and continuously raise capital because we've always performed. Our shareholders have never lost a penny. I don't ever foresee it happening. And we can continue to raise capital from individual accredited investors in addition to using the institutions in the secondary markets and the easier forms. But when we first started out, it was very, very difficult to raise money from individual accredited investors. Now we do it at will because of our track
Understood.
record.
Now, I've been real estate investing since 1996. I started buying properties, and I'm, small time compared to you. I call it more of a hobby. It's like my sport. Some people, ride horses and go to the beach.
Right.
I'm the person that's like, hey, let me check what's going on in the market. So what do you say to people that are looking to get involved in the real estate market today as an investor because they find that it's a little sexy, right? They think it's sexy. They don't understand what's happening.
Align yourself with the right people. Find a great realtor, somebody that you believe you can trust. Find a great lender, somebody that you can trust, and pick their brains. Make sure that the lender isn't just some banker that wants to put money out and is not looking out for you. I was a flipper. I was a real estate investor before I started lending money. And I look at almost above and beyond anything, the economics of every trade, every transaction. I've told borrowers, don't do this deal, you're going to lose money. And they've thanked me for it, because they've gotten out of contracts and done things to that effect so that they can always succeed. We don't want to see our borrowers fail just so we can generate a loan, because if they fail, we're going to wind up catching the shrapnel.
100%.
And we just don't want that. So you got to align yourself with the right people and educate yourself. There's tons of information out there no matter what your goal is. Real estate, I happen to be wildly passionate about it. It's one of the reasons why I'm successful. If you're not passionate about something, don't just stick your toe in the water because you think you can make money, because you saw a show on TV. Do it because you really want it, because you're excited about it and you love what you do.
What do you say to the people that do follow, I'll say, the social media gurus, and maybe they're watching a handful of these HGTV shows and they're like, I could do that. My husband's handy. I have a paintbrush. And they think that it's just, this episode. They don't understand what goes into it. What do you say to the people that are watching this perfect world unravel in front of them? What's the reality?
Don't watch HGTV shows if you want to be a flipper. They're very entertaining. They're great shows. But a lot of things these guys are doing with design and all these fancy colors and picking out tile, it's not true. I flipped just shy of 500 houses in the last 10 years. We find a formula, we stick with it. The trend was cherry cabinets when I first started out. I got so tired of putting cherry cabinets in houses, we switched to a cinnamon. Now everything's white. I'm tired of the white kitchen. If I had to build a house for myself, I would not put a white kitchen in. I've done 350 white kitchens, but you don't got to get to the point where you're playing decorator, where you're playing realtor. It's a formula. It really is. And if you know the equation, you see what's selling in your area, stick to that. Follow the trends. Don't be a trend setter. Not in real estate. It's not going to happen. Be the one that's just riding the wave. I've never been the first guy to come up with an idea, but I've always kind of rode the wave and done very, very, very well.
What do they say? KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Sounds good.
I went to a seminar and there was somebody that taught the formula of, if you were going to do rehab, he had a book and he said, here's my book. Every one of my light sockets is this. Every one of my wall colors is this. And literally it was a book of SKUs, so that when he did his walkthrough, they literally counted and said, okay, there's my rehab budget, because I know this is how many cans, this is how much sheetrock, this is how much I need. And they built their budget accordingly.
It's exactly how it's done. It changes colors every 5 to 7 years. But outside of that, you're using the same light fixtures for the most part. You're using the same colors. You're using the same cabinets and countertops. And again, there are some nuances where we change. If I'm in a higher end area as opposed to a working class community, sure, we'll use different finishes. But when you're first starting out and you're trying to build a business around real estate investing and flipping, cookie cutter. Do it simple, stupid, and do it over and over and over the same way. Especially if you have success in your first one, repeat, 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 and you'll have success.
And what about the people that you speak with that are interested in becoming landlords? I'm sure they come to you for those types of programs as well.
Right. We do a lot of them. I own some rental properties. I don't love the model personally, because if you're going to do it, I believe that you either need to have a lot of free time or hire a property manager. All of my rentals are managed by a property manager. I don't want to be the person getting the phone call at 2 o'clock in the morning that the boiler broke.
Yeah.
It's just not part of my lifestyle anymore. But it's great for a lot of people. I know people that own 5 rental doors. I have people in my book that own 500 rental doors.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fantastic way to build long-term residual income. But you've got to do your homework. You've got to do the math, make sure that it's a property that's sustainable. It's in a market that's going to stay rented the whole time. And it all goes back to educating yourself and sticking to the formula. Because once you start to get creative and think outside the box, I can get more for this than the rest of the neighborhood's renting for, you're going to lose.
Yeah, understood. And I deal with that with my tenants right now. And, you know, I advise my clients that I speak with, if you're planning on having any rental property, make sure you have 3 to 6 months worth of reserve for every property you own. Welcome to 3 years of eviction. You know, I'm still, you know, unlike some other people I know, but, you know, unfortunately I have tenants that haven't paid, and I'm waiting for that day for redemption.
It's strange because we did live through 2 years of no evictions allowed in this state.
Yeah.
So I do encourage people to look at the landlord-tenant laws where they're looking to get involved as a landlord.
100%.
So you're a New Yorker, I'm a New Yorker. I don't want to own any more rental properties in New York. I would look at Florida or these other states where the landlord-tenant laws may be fair. I don't even need to say that they need to be more in favor of the landlord as opposed to just be fair. You don't pay, you have to go. That's a simple rule.
There you go. Makes sense to me.
Right.
Well, again, we are in studio with Ed Stock. You are the president of Insula Capital.
That is correct.
And do you lend in all 50 states?
Just about 45 states.
45 states. Excellent. Well, we appreciate you taking your time today and speaking to myself and our audience in reference to the work that you do. And hopefully you'll be able to come back soon and share some more stories.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
You got it.